First question I have for you, obviously, is where did the idea for Grown come from?
Well, it started when my good friend of mine, Chaz Hazlitt, and I work on New Amsterdam. And Chaz is a Renaissance man. He's mainly known for being an artist on folks' heads and hair, and he's responsible for my sharp hairline on New Amsterdam. But he recently wrote a children's book with his daughter, Natalia, and really excited for them for that. But we work together every morning on New Amsterdam before our show ended, and he would crack me up every morning telling me stories, particularly stories from his childhood. And one of the ones he was telling me about was that, he had been going to a strip club since he was 14 years old. And I laughed at that as soon as I heard it, and I wondered what that must have been like, as someone who eventually grew to become a strip club connoisseur myself. For a while in my 20s, I just couldn't have imagined going there as a teenager and what that must have been like, walking in and the smells and the sights and the sounds and the lights, and how exciting that would have been, and overwhelming that would have been probably in some instances. So I began writing this story about some kids sneaking in a strip club, and other elements came about. There's some things that I kept from what he told me, which were the fact that and giving some stuff away here, that he was in Catholic school at the time, and he'd wear his Catholic school uniform and tell the girls there that he was a car salesman. I don't know why they would believe a fresh-faced 14-year-old, as I don't know how the conversations ended, but he would tell me that, and I just thought it was hilarious. So somehow this heartfelt story came out as soon as I started writing. And I love when I get in that flow of writing. That happens occasionally when you know you're onto something, because you create these characters and you start building the setting around, and then you just put the characters in the setting and the situation, and then the dialogue just starts to flow out. And that's what happened with Grown.
This is also your directing debut, and I'm curious to know, how did being an actor help you slide into that director's chair?
Sid, how did I end up doing that?
Yeah, how did being an actor help you slide into that director's chair?
How did it help? Oh gosh, man, I don't know where to begin with that. Well, it being an actor helped me, but also just being a person who cares about art so much. When I first started acting 20 years ago, professionally, right out of college, I started booking jobs really fast. And my friends, I wanted them to have similar success. So everything that I was learning out in my auditions and learning through booking jobs, I would want to impart to them. So we would set up these sessions where I would coach them. I'd coach my peers. And I've been doing that now I still do it. I coach actors, young actors, for jobs that they have coming up, potential jobs. And we've had some high profile bookings that some success out of that. But each time I would learn so much, molding these stories and these characters and these scenes, and coming up with unique ways to sort of get a point across in a scene. Because we would be competing against other, if I'm coaching my peer, and I'll tell her, Kimberly, what can we do? What can we come up with in order to stand out from the other auditioners? And it kept us on our toes and kept us being creative. And I learned so much over the years that by the time, this opportunity came along for me to direct, I was ready, and I got to apply all of that knowledge to working with these young actors. But definitely being an actor myself and being on set for all these years and spending thousands of days or hundreds of days on a set And sometimes having worked with Academy Award winning directors, it's just been a wealth of knowledge that I can apply in these situations.
Sometimes people who watch these films think that you come up with an idea, you get the money, you cast the film, boom, it's done. It's like that quick, but it's not that always that quick. For
My God.
you, from the initial concept of the idea for this project to the finished project done in the can, boom, how long did that process take?
I started writing in January of last year, and I think I've finally finished my final edit, in my opinion, because I edited on my laptop, the one I'm talking to you here now. I finally got my satisfaction this past month in January, so a year, you know. And sometimes things take a lot longer than that. This is a short film, and I did put myself on a schedule with this particular thing. And I wanted to get it done and get it done soon, so I could have a piece that I could show for me as a director. So that was that. But what I didn't anticipate was how long the post-production process would take. That was mind-blowing for me. All the different steps, all the different people that you have to work with. I mean, I was looking forward to just getting on set and working with these actors and do it. You know, that was very naive of me to think like this was it. You know, okay, we got those scenes in the can. Now you got to go edit it. Now you got to go find the sound designer and a sound mixer, and then you got to do the Foley sound. It's three different sound, groups of people. Then there's, the colorist and all of these things. But that's the thing. If I would tell filmmakers, if you haven't made a film yet, just get ready for that post-production process, which can be very disheartening at times.
For the readers, what can you tell us about the basic plot of what Grown is about?
Yeah, Grown essentially is about a young man, Rogelio, who is trying to find his way. He's an adolescent, and he's trying to find out what the meaning of being a man is in his world. He recently lost his father, and he's only learned so much from his dad. He died probably, Ro is about 14 years old. His dad probably passed away when he was around 10. But there's this legend of his father that lives on throughout the film. And we first learn about his father through the eyes of Chaz, Ro's best friend, who has an older brother who tells him that, Ro, your father, he was the man, and Ro kind of knows some of these things, but to hear it from someone else, to hear that his dad was kind of a legend, he calls him the godfather of the neighborhood, how he take care of people, he take care of his family. He was known for this sort of thing. He's known for getting his way. Is very appealing to Ro. And for someone who is impressionable at that age, you're kind of always looking. So this film, and I know I'm all over the place. This is actually the first person I've talked to about the film, so I got to get in the practice of talking about it. But it's a film about searching for the truth of and an identity, and ultimately, he'll learn a lot from his sister. His sister teaches him more about being a man than anybody, and that's part of the whole thing that comes full circle in the film.
One of the things that stood out for me instantly when I watched the teaser trailer was the chemistry between those three young men on that film. Can you talk about directing those three young men, and as a matter of fact, the cast in general, working with them?
Yeah, it's very fantastic. I was so fortunate to work with these talented actors, and started with our casting director, Kate Reed, who gave me a great pool of talent to draw from. And I got to be honest, I was concerned by it being a short film, if I would have a big enough pool to draw from, and we did. I mean, everybody was just so good. They gave some great auditions. But these boys, there was something about the chemistry immediately that just felt magical. They got along great. They fed off of each other. And when I tell you they dove in, and made me, it inspired me. It made me really want to bring my A game when it came to directing them. I learned quickly through them that this is a very important life experience for them, and I therefore took it very seriously as a result of that. But the chemistry was undeniable, and it's amazing that you were able to see it there, even in the trailer. But in the film, it really comes across. What I did do with them in the beginning, I started out with I created a questionnaire for them to fill out in their characters, as their characters. You know, how does Ro feel about Chaz? How does Chaz think Ro? I mean, how does Ro think Chaz feels about him? What does he say about you when you're not around? You know, how do you feel about the relationship between your sister and Chaz? Do you trust him? You know, just really diving in about with the dynamic between the three of them. And I had them handwrite. We couldn't fill it out on your phone. I had them write it out, so they would have to sit and think about it and think about their answers and turn it in. And I think that was very crucial in us beginning to jump in and really getting to know the characters before we started.
When you have a project like this, I know you want to connect with the audience. And I have to tell you, watching this, I've watched it several times now. Watching these three young men took me back to my days when I first tried to get into a strip club, go to places I wasn't supposed to be in my little small town.
Mm.
Are you happy? Are you hoping that someone like myself and the rest of the audience feels that same way when they watch it? Because it definitely took me back to my teen years.
Yeah, and it's so funny. First of all, about that, I was shocked to see how many crew members, when they would read before we started, they'd read the script and they go, "Oh, that was my experience."
Yep.
It's not as unique as I thought it was, especially here on the East Coast. You know, they a lot of people have that experience. But if it's not sneaking into a strip club, you know, I snuck into a club, you know, a regular club, sneaking into a movie theater or whatever it may be.
Exactly.
Just coming up with a game plan with your guys and being nervous. And as you'll see in this film, they had a surefire way to get in, and they were more excited than anything. But about that, the excitement of having a plan. I mean, once they realize that the plan is a go from the beginning in the movie, I mean, they're jumping up and down, they're celebrating, they're excited, they're goofing off, they're playing pranks on each other. They're, you know, Ro can't contain himself at the a dinner table with his family. He's tapping his foot. He's anxious. And I hope that audiences will see that and they laugh and they can relate and they can think back to their childhood, which a lot of along the way, again, you're one of the earlier people I'm talking to, but at least from our crew members and our producers, they all smile when they read it and they said, "Oh man." And I had one producer, Andrew Zola, he said as soon as he read it, he got halfway through and he called one of his best friends that he grew up with and said, "Hey man, do you remember that time we blah 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 blah?"
Exactly.
Yeah, and it just bring back memories for people, and that's an exciting thing.
One of the other things that really stood out to me in the trailer was the visuals, the look, the colors that you used in this film. Can you talk about working with the DP on this and your eye for this film?
Yeah, I've always liked the contrast of dark and light in colors and neon. I've been a big fan of that, and there's no greater opportunity. This film kind of lends itself to that, seeing as when you think of nightlife and you think of flashiness and you think of strip clubs, you think of, you know, the girl that's sitting there in the stilettos on the little, you know, the neon sign or whatever the strip club may be called. You see those signs, and this really lent itself to that. So I started out by creating a shot deck and going through various films, and sort of taking pictures from those movies and putting them in the deck. There are scenes from Hustle and Flow, for example, or Hustlers. I think that's the movie with J-Lo.
Yes.
There's this image of I remember in the strip club scene, I wanted to have the image of a girl being upside down or doing something on the pole. So I typed that in Google literally, and that scene comes up. I think it's with J-Lo, and so I take a picture of that and I put that in the shot deck. And by the time I was done with everything, I had this beautiful deck of neon colors, and you could really start to see the feel of the film. And so I send that deck to this great cinematographer, Andrew Vogley, who is the DP for New Amsterdam. He shot Breaking Bad, Preacher, just great, good, nice quality shows. And it would be a dream if I can get him to come shoot my short film. But I sent him that deck, and I didn't say, hey, will you come do this? I didn't want to get that no, but I just said, hey, what do you think of this visually? And he takes a look at that, and he was so captivated by it. And he calls me up, he says, when are we shooting this? Yes, that's exactly what I wanted to hear. So Andy just did a fantastic job. He just did a fantastic job of bringing that to life. Sometimes I'll go back and look at that deck, and I look at the film, and like, that we did that. It was really great.
Of course, I don't want to give anything away. I've been lucky enough and honored enough to see this early. But another thing that stands out to me is the music that you use in this film. Can you talk a little bit about selecting certain songs for certain scenes? I don't want to give the scenes away, but can you talk a little bit about the music aspect of this film, which I really, really love?
Yeah. Forgive me again too through this interview. Those of you that may be seeing this, or I'm getting emotional now because I took my time with all of these, and this is the first interview. Eventually, I'm sure we'll do other interviews and people will ask these same questions, and I'll be a little more prepared. But the fact that I took my time with this music, I make music. A little known fact, for 5 minutes, I was in a rap group. I produced a lot of music, and it was important for me to reach out to somebody I'd worked with. His name is Star Child Yeezo is his artist name, also known as Danye Gooden. And he's got a few songs in there, and he's just one of the most talented musicians I've ever had the privilege to know. And he's done a lot of music for great artists. He's done songs for Chris Brown and whatnot. But he's got a youthfulness to his music. He's got an R&B vibe. He's got a hip hop vibe, and and he's got like 3 songs. I think he's made it into this short film, and all 3 of them sound different. And you may not even notice that it's the same artist. So he's a very talented guy. So I started with that, and sort of actually just building with him. Once I told him I was doing this short and I would send him visuals for it, he sent me some suggestions, and that worked out great. And then for other songs, I found some great artists through some music licensing websites, and I spent days combing through. I'll type in the type of vibe in the search, type in the type of genre I'm looking for, and I would just download all of these songs and just listen to them and kind of watch with what I had shot. And a lot of times it helped to know what kind of music I would be envisioning for the scene, but also being open to trying different things and putting those there was very crucial. And lastly, as far as some of the original music, I worked with a great guy I found named Charlie Ryan, who composed music for When We First See Rose Dad, the dinner table scene, when he's sneaking out of the house, all of those things Charlie did, and he just did a fantastic job. And everybody I worked with, man, on this thing, it's just, there was this magic happening. People were just very into the project, very excited, and it helped, again, Troy, as we were talking about the fact that, you know, it reminded them of their childhood, and that was a great conversation starter for everybody to come on board. But very proud of the music selection. Took my time with it, and I'm glad you enjoyed it.
What message, if any, would you like viewers to take from this project after they watch it?
Yeah, that's the tough question. I did get that question, a questionnaire for this film festival, South by Southwest, which we'll get to, and on that one I'm still working on. I do want people to just have fun, because honest to God, I was laughing as I was writing it, as it was coming out. I was laughing out loud, and I want people to laugh out loud at these boys. It's not the funniest movie you'll ever see, but it makes you smile, and I do want people to smile. I do want people to think about the struggles that their loved ones may be going through, that we don't always get to see or think about, you know. And I think you may know what I'm referring to there in the movie. We tend to have tunnel vision in life in general, but you know, there's we go through things. Our family members go through things, and there's secrets in our family, and we may not all know the history of what's going on. We don't know why two of our aunts don't get along, you know, or what the history may be there, or what we missed before we were born. And sometimes through conversation and spending time with your family, that stuff can come out. Yeah, and I'm gonna work some more on that, on answering that question about what I want the audience to take away.
You mentioned South by Southwest. This film is going to have its premiere at South by Southwest, which is huge. First of all, you must be thrilled that that's going to happen. And how proud are you that this is going to premiere at South by Southwest?
I couldn't be more proud. The fact that we got one of the three big ones, and I think deep down, I did talk about this before it happened with one of my producers. I said I would really love South by Southwest. It's my home state of Texas. That's where I was born and raised. And there's something about the energy of South by Southwest and that audience, because I've been there before. It's off the beaten path a little bit when it comes to festivals. You know, it's not that snobby, but it's huge, it's massive, and that audience will really support you. So, and then to get down there in Texas, man, and get in Austin and get around that barbecue, this was just the dream, you know. And I found out, I got a notification from South by a couple of days before Christmas, and it was just the greatest Christmas present. And what's really great is, after I made this short film, I've watched it a million times, and I said, I just feel like, because ultimately when you make a short film, you know, one of the goals is to turn this into, you know, a possible feature. But this kept reading television series for me. I just felt like there's more to the characters. I felt like the story can continue. But I submitted it as a short film to a few festivals. And when South by contacted me, they said, Jocko, we love it. It's very heartwarming and funny, and we love the characters, but we feel like this could live on. And would you mind if we presented it as an independent TV pilot? And my mind was blown, because they felt the same thing on their own, just watching that. And I said, absolutely, yes. So it will premiere this March at South by Southwest as an independent TV pilot. And we could not be more excited.
And I think my final question for you is, how important is it for artists these days, especially artists of color, to create their own projects, put it out there? Because, you know, a lot of people, they end up like waiting for calls, waiting for projects. But now I see a lot of people, especially, again, people of color, just taking it on their own, doing their own thing and putting it out there. Was that important for you?
I don't think it could be any more crucial. I think it's always been the case that it's good for an artist to create. If nothing else, if I can go back in time, I would have written a lot more in the beginning. Learned to sort of being a good writer is very beneficial to you as an artist. You can understand writers and writing. You can start to work to sort of find your voice for characters you'd like to play in the future. You can create opportunities for yourself. And I also feel like there's no better time in history than now for A, people of color, and B, just for artists to create content with all of the platforms out there, large scale and a smaller scale. The large scale, um, Hulu has a division that they've signed with Onyx, which is a diverse platform and production company that I just recently learned about. And there's so many everywhere. There's diversity programs, directing programs that all of the studios, major studios, have that people can go and apply for. And as you apply, you're going to have to create your content to submit. Let alone the YouTubes. And look how Issa Rae started. She created her own series on YouTube. I think it was Awkward Black Girl, right, at the time. And she became a powerhouse in the industry from doing that. So I think it's very important. It's very educational experience to be a creator. I think long gone are the days, or soon to be long gone are the days, of just being a performer. You have to create especially also during in the new world we're in with we're on Zoom now. What was Zoom 5 years ago? I always think about Skype and how Skype missed this opportunity during the pandemic, because Skype was there. Well, I don't know what happened. That's a different conversation. But I recently there will be an announcement soon. I got a new acting job that's coming up that I just booked off of Zoom. But in order to do that, I had to really create my environment at home and create. So it's very important to learn how to create, and it's very essential, I think, and it might be the way of the future. Creating all of your own content. Who knows?
As a viewer of this film, I think you should be extremely proud of what you've come up with. You hit the nail on the head a few minutes ago when you mentioned it made you smile. You want to make people smile. This film made me smile the entire time I was watching it, and I was laughing. So you should be very, very proud of this project. I really, really enjoyed it.
I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. And yeah, man, to anybody out there watching, listening, man, just go for it. I did not expect to be able to really have a project that came out so nice. And I wouldn't have known it if I hadn't taken that leap of faith. So whatever you need to do to get something done, figure it out and get cracking on it. You'll be very pleased with yourself. It'll be a great learning experience. And you might fail at it too. You need to fail. This is my first short film, but this isn't my first project. My other projects failed before. You got to fail a few times. So get cracking on it.